Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am on a little bit early this morning because I've got I think I'm going to be doing 3 live streams this morning because there is a lot happening and none of it really gels together. So then, guys, I'm going to be talking about the chilling prospect of World War III targets confirmed in the United Kingdom. Now, I will be leading with an article that was released if it loads up, in the Daily Mail. When was this released? 10th of December, on the 10th of December. And the headline is, revealed Putin's plot to slaughter Western civilians, US plane bombs, derailing packed trains and poisoning our water supplies are among the plans that have already been foiled. Now, when I've been doing these live streams and I've been talking about these things, I've been talking about sleeper agents, I've been talking about asymmetric warfare. People always say to me, they always say, Sean, are we going to get attacked in the United Kingdom? Are we going to get attacked here in the UK? And I always say yes, but it's not what you guys think. It's not going to be the long-range missiles. It's not going to be the bombs. This is going to be the strike that Vladimir Putin uses. So I'm just going to get into this, guys. I'm going to start my opening monologue. Like I said, I am on a little bit early. I am in a little bit early this morning because I think I'm going to have to do 3 live streams this morning because there's so much stuff happening. There's so much stuff happening. So I'm just going to get into this, guys, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, get yourselves a cup of tea because I am talking about the slaughter that's been revealed in the mainstream media. It's what I've been talking about for such a long time, but I just want to emphasize these things because, there have been alarm bells ringing around the world while people are sleeping. And we all need to be absolutely wide awake to the real threat because, these lone wolf incidents, these paid criminal gangs, these things getting set on fire, it's all connected, What I'm about to tell you isn't it isn't some thriller novel or a conspiracy. It's the cold, harsh reality that's happening right now on our doorstep. These are the things that are happening. I've been saying to you guys that these are what I believe the threats are. And it turns out over a year ago, it's been reported on the mainstream media now that is actually what has been happening. So, Vladimir Putin's Kremlin has unleashed a shadow war, a chilling, continent-spanning sabotage campaign that's no longer confined to the blood-soaked fields of Ukraine. It's here in our cities, in our skies, in our water supplies. And if people don't understand the threat, they will be succumbed to it. So maybe tomorrow, maybe even today's too late. People need to understand the real threats and, and contextualize them. All right. And I will, I think I should just keep repeating this through the live stream. Get yourselves water. All right. Get yourselves water. So let me give context. This didn't start yesterday. I could argue this started in 1962, but I won't argue that right now, guys. I've got far too much to get through. Since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the Kremlin's playbook has evolved from tanks, missiles, guns, bombs, trains, planes, automobiles to something far more sinister. Hybrid warfare. Now, again, there's going to have to be a new name for what's happening because it's not... There's just going to have to be a new name for it, all right? Because what we would normally look at with hybrid warfare is various asymmetric options. What we have right now is a situation where bad guys can pay criminal gangs in another country to commit acts of arson, sabotage, whatever. That's what we're talking about, guys, okay? And we're talking about a surge in covert operations. So, setting fire to things, explosions, cyber attacks, sleeper cells, derailing trains, all this sort of stuff. It's designed to bleed us dry without firing a shot across those borders. European intelligence agencies report over 50 such incidents linked to Moscow from 2012 through mid-2025 alone, with attacks nearly tripling in 2024. NATO is calling it a record high threat level, a deliberate campaign to destabilize our economies, fracture our alliances, and erode public support for Ukraine by making everyday life feel like a war zone. This isn't a retaliation, it's revenge. A message that no corner of the West is safe. And the latest revelations, they're straight out of a nightmare, guys. Okay, so picture this. Parcels rigged with explosives to rip through a cargo plane from the sky, smuggled through our courier hubs like everyday gifts. Yeah, that happened. Back in July 2024, these devices disguised as, I think they were disguised as printer. I think it was printer ink or something, but somebody fact check me on that. But that happened in 2024. There was detonations in DHL depots across the United Kingdom, Germany, and Poland, I believe. One burst into flames in Birmingham. Another scorched a warehouse in in Warsaw. All this stuff's been happening, and it's been, and at the time, it's just a warehouse fire. And I can remember reporting on this, guys. There was one like a couple of months ago in the United Kingdom. I can remember reporting on these. It seems like a lot of stuff is getting set on fire. It really does, guys. It seems like stuff's getting burnt down, and then a couple of months later, maybe the next year, we find out that it was some sort of sabotage attack. Security sources say that some of these devices could have downed airliners, bound for the United States, for example. Investigators uncovered the plotters still hoarding around 6 kilos of high explosives, enough for the next phase. A barrage of targeting transatlantic routes could eclipse 9/11, in an absolute chaos, paralyzing global trade and claiming hundreds, if not thousands, of lives. The goal, simple, savage. It's to sow terror, and it's to cripple our supply chains and whisper to every citizen from London to Lisbon to New York, you are next. Now, if you take a step back and look at the timeline of these events, could it be? And I'm not saying this is the case, guys. I'm saying, could it be that Vladimir Putin has warned Donald Trump, if they don't lift off in Ukraine, they are going to start downing their aircrafts and doing all sorts of crazy things. Do you think that could have been do you think that could have happened? Do you think that could have happened? Do you think that could be a real, do you think that could be a real world thing where Putin has said, you know what, we are gonna start downing your aircraft if you don't lift off? I don't know if that's the thing. I genuinely don't know if that's the thing, guys. But this aviation horror show, is just one thread in a tapestry of terror that's woven across Europe. Remember the blazers, remember all these blazers and these, and these fires at warehouses, haulage stations. And then we find out later that these haulage stations, that's not the right word, is it? Storage depots, haulage stations, storage depots. Remember when we had all these fires at the storage depots, and then it turns out that they had, these storage depots had, what did they have? They had Starlink dishes for Ukraine. They had drone parts for the military. We've seen plots to derail packed trains on the Warsaw line where Ukrainian nationals recruited and then abandoned were caught planting bombs, only for their accomplices to walk free on technicalities. Dams have been targeted for breach. Water supplies have been laced with poison. Critical grids and transport hubs primed for a blackout. These are the things that have been happening right now, ladies and gentlemen, okay? These have been actually happening. We've got Russia. We've got the undersea cables, that I think are about to go kaboom. We've got the Russian shadow fleet. We've got these, what are they called? We've got the, what's that? The Russian spy ship that keeps getting seen off the coast of the United Kingdom. All these things are really happening. And what's really stomach churning, the Kremlin's not sending elite special forces, in trench coats with fancy watches. guys, look, all this is in this article. All this that I'm talking about right now is in this article. So if you're joining for the first time, guys, this is all in an article that was released yesterday by the Daily Mail called Revealed: Putin's Plot to Slaughter Western Civilians. You guys can go and read this yourself. And this talks about, sorry, guys, I've not got the chat on. I do apologize. The chat's on. And these are the things that I've been saying for such a long time. You don't need to send, your best, like, Yuri Bond or, I don't know, what would you call him? Yuri Khrushchev. You don't need to send Yuri Khrushchev, with all his Spetsnaz, KGB, GRU training anymore. You literally pay criminal gangs in that country. That's all you do now, guys. All right. So when, the old days of, and those things they will still be happening, but nowhere near on the frequency that you can pay somebody to do, So, the reality and the new dynamics of this is you don't need to send your best James Bond guy with his what does he have? Was it with his Breitling? Is it a Amiga watch? You don't need to send your James Bond character with his Amiga watch and his Aston Martin and his little gadgets and his radios. You don't do that anymore. What you do, you outsource this to criminal gangs. And look, guys, this is my speculation. This is my own opinion, right? I've got no evidence to back this up, right? This is my own opinion. I would say that a lot of these hotel staff that have migrants in them, a lot of them are Eastern European. I would say, this is my opinion, guys, all right? This is my opinion. You guys, open to your own opinion. I would say those people in those hotels are heavily recruiting migrants from those hotels to go and conduct criminal acts. Why wouldn't they? Like, the worst case scenario is we send them home with 30 grand. So, you can imagine it now in a hotel, right? You've got someone, I don't know, maybe a Norwegian fisherman. Let's just say a Norwegian fisherman, right? You've got a Norwegian fisherman in a hotel and, and he wants a little bit of money. He wants some money. And the hotelier or one of the staff or one of the cleaners or whatever says to him, hello, mate, if you go and burn down a substation, I'll give you 5 grand. Okay, worst case scenario, he gets deported with 30 grand in his pocket or whatever Shabina Mahmood agrees. So, there's no incentive for these people not to commit these crimes now. Absolutely not. There's no incentive. And that's why I keep saying it's not going to be grey warfare. I mean, I guess grey warfare doesn't encompass it, but people will use these words synonymously. Grey warfare, asymmetric warfare, But there's going to have to be a new name for it because never before in recorded history has it been this easy to do sabotage in someone else's country, especially the United Kingdom now, guys. Now we are, we are at boiling point. We're, we're not even at simmering point. We're on a heavy boil right now in the United Kingdom. So it's very easy to do this, The Kremlin's not sending elite spies, with their fancy kit and equipment. They're outsourcing this chaos in the gig economy. Foot soldiers, young civilians, often, with European backgrounds, lured online, maybe with crypto payments, zero training, then discarded like used matches. There was an article out in the Telegraph a while ago, and there was a Lithuanian judge, I think he was a prosecutor actually, who said this is a test run for bigger horrors. That's what they said, guys. Okay. Poland's already, taken 4 people in their parcel probe, but the ringleaders, a Russian GRU operative named Yaroslav Mikhailov. That's the name that's out in the Telegraph, guys. That's the name that's out in the Telegraph. I'm not making that up. Yaroslav Mikhailov slipped through the net, sparking an international tug of war. These aren't accidents anymore, guys. This is an audition for Armageddon. Because you can imagine now, right, how many people we have in hotels in the United Kingdom, how many people we have in those hotels. And here's the question. I don't know what the answer is. Do we think, and I'm not pointing the finger, it's a question, all right? This is a question. Do you think all those people in hotels could be paid, or even some of them? I mean, we've, some estimates saying that we've got over 2 million people now in the United Kingdom that are here illegally, right? 2 million people. Even if it's just 1%, that's a pretty big fucking workforce, guys. That is a pretty big workforce. And when you're, and as a state operator, money isn't an option. Whether you pay 4, 5, 10, 50 grand, it doesn't matter if you're getting the job done. So this isn't Putin's end game, Sorry, this is, I guess, Putin's end game. Not just conquering Kiev, but breaking our will from within by hitting warehouses, rail, skies, forcing us to divert billions, hundreds of millions already lost in damages, from Ukraine's defenses from, to our own backyard. It's low-cost war for him. It's low-cost war. And it's low cost, high reward. It really is, guys. It really is. It's low cost, high reward. When you consider, okay, so here's the thing, guys, right? Consider how much a drone costs, right? Let me just Google this real quick. I know this answer is going to be wild, okay? It's going to be very, very widespread. Okay, so I've literally just Googled, how much does a gimbal for a military drone cost? Hang on, cost. How much does a gimbal for a military drone cost? Okay, so the cost of a gimbal for a military drone can vary significantly. Cost breakdown. Okay, so this is just, look, guys, these costs are wild, all right? They can range from, what they're saying here is they can cost from £10,000 to £30,000. Now, I think that is ridiculously low. I know that, I know certain products, and I know the certain products I'm thinking of, they start at 50 grand, all right? I think the AI is wrong, but we'll go with the AI, guys. All right, we'll go with the AI. I guess they're talking maybe insy-wincy ones. I mean, I probably gave the wrong. I probably gave the wrong question. Anyway, we'll just go with it, right? Okay. So let's say just the camera, nothing else, on a military spec drone is 30 grand. All right, that's just the camera. Then you have to fit it. Then you have to attach that to an airplane. Then you have to put all the rest of the stuff in it, the control system, the data uplink, the data uplink, the data downlink, the control station, FPV goggles if you're using them, whatever else you're putting on that drone. You see how the cost of like one single drone rockets, that's just for one. Let's just think about that cost of a gimbal. What damage do you think you could do to the United Kingdom for 30 grand? If you found some criminal gangs and you said, right, lads, I will pay you five, I don't know, 5 of them, so 25 grand. If you said, right, lads, I'll pay you 5 grand each if you go burn down that substation. Do you think they'd do it? Some criminal gangs, maybe living in hotels? I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they would say, yeah, I'll take that 30 grand. We'll take that 5 grand a pop. Or do you think they'll say, well, actually, no, because, the United Kingdom have been very kind. They're taking us in. They're giving us 3 meals a day. They're putting a roof over our heads and they're looking after us. No, we're not going to do that. Or do you think they'll take the money and continue taking the free stuff? Let me know what you guys think in the chat. So that's just the cost of one, of a gimbal, a camera system. So when you look at sabotage, in-country sabotage, it's a low risk, low cost, high return, high yield strategy. And this is what people don't understand, you know. And for us as well, it's high stakes paranoia, you know, because NATO's even mulling preemptive strikes on Russian assets, you know, drawing howls from Moscow, you know, proof the noose is tightening. It was out in, you know, it was out in a couple of, I think it was this, it may have even been like last week or something. Excuse me. That NATO minus the United States, so the EU, are planning preemptive strikes on Russia's sabotaging schemes or whatever they're called it, and they're calling it, and they're saying it's in defense, you know. But the warning, you know, the warning you came for, if you're in Britain, in Germany, Poland, you know, anywhere from the Baltics to the Channel, you know, these things are really happening now. They're really happening, you know, they are here. This is not me, you know. I did like last year. I did a top 10 video. I did a top 10 video, and I said, look, guys, you know, this is these are my top 10 civilian targets, and all of them now are out in the mainstream. They're not just, you know, they're not just potential strike points anymore. They are real targets that the Russians have attacked. You know, the shadow of war is real, it's escalating, and it's aimed at everyday people. It really is, guys. It's aimed at everyday people, you know. So the truth and the reality doesn't rest. The reality doesn't rest. It doesn't matter what we're being told on the mainstream. It doesn't matter what we're being told. If you're watching this channel, guys, if you're watching this channel, I've been telling you this has been coming for a while. We on this channel are usually about a year ahead of everyone else. We're usually about a year ahead of everyone else. And if I can say one thing to you guys, all right, one thing, if you forget everything else, right, literally, if you forget everything else, all right, maybe you don't have the money, maybe you don't have the finances or the resources, get yourself some water stored. Literally, get yourself some water stored. It has come out on this article now that the water system has been targeted, has been poisoned. Water supplies have been poisoned. You know, we know already from the United Kingdom that bad guys are producing ricin in the United Kingdom. We know that. It's been out on the mainstream media. There's other things that they can produce as well. I'm not going to mention them. But these are things with the water situation. Look, guys, tell me, do you have access to your local reservoir? That's a simple question. Do you have access to your local reservoir? You know, can you get up to your local reservoir? I would say you can. I know I can. So if you can get up to your local reservoir, then that means bad guys can get up to your local reservoir, right? And if they can get access to your local reservoir, they can contaminate your local reservoir. That's the reality, guys, right? That's the reality. Do you, I know I do you know where these water pipes are? I know I do. There's a water pipe, like, it's ridiculous. It's like exposed in the middle of a woods. I know where there is a water pipe, and I can walk up to that water pipe, and this is a water pipe that feeds houses, right? This is a water pipe that feeds houses. So it's not like a reservoir where it's going to go through some filtration system. This is a water pipe that actually feeds people's houses. I know exactly where that is. I can go and sit on that for hours and nobody would walk past me. If I know where it is, bad guys know where it is. If bad guys know where it is, bad guys can drill into it and contaminate it. So if anything else, guys, just literally, you know, just get yourselves water, because very soon I do think I do think water is going to be turned off at some point, guys. I really do. I really do. Right, I'm going to jump onto the chat now, guys. I'm going to jump onto the chat. I've got a few articles to cover. I don't know what order I'm going to do them, because I think I'm going to have to come back and do another live, because later on I've got the Falklands is flaring up again. You know, the Falklands is about Antarctica. Everything's about Antarctica, guys. Literally everything is about Antarctica. We've got masks. We've got the American administration are saying that mass migration is leading to the potential of civilizational erasure. That's what Trump's saying. Right. So, and then I've got a warning for white people. Yeah, I've got a warning for white people. I've got a warning for Western civilization. So they're my 3 live streams. I can't do them all now, guys, because it won't make sense. It won't make sense with the topics. What I'll do is actually, I'll come onto the chat, and then I have got a couple of articles to go through because people are being urged to wear masks again, guys. People are being urged to wear masks again as a tide of flu sweeps through the United Kingdom. Right, let me jump onto the chat. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Dave Toby is saying, water, what else do I need? Look, guys, like, I don't think people need to get anything else. Really, I don't see a scenario where people are, like, in the United Kingdom, I don't see a situation where people are running out of food in the UK. You know, obviously, look, guys, you know, how long is a piece of string? Like, people can go and spend, you know, you can go and, like, you can keep spending on this sort of stuff and never stop, you know. I would say water. Like, I don't see the UK running out of food, although I do see a scenario where some food becomes contaminated. I do see that happening. I do see food becoming contaminated. It's not cold enough in the United Kingdom that people are going to freeze. So yes, your lights might go off. Like, I don't know. I would get. Do you know what? Actually, I was on the phone to my friend the other day, in Ukraine, and he's living like it's in the Blitz. And I said to him, I said, right, mate, what would you say? Like, what would you say? Like, what are the things that you use the most? And he said candles and board games. So, you know, candles and water, candles and board games. You know, that's what I would say, guys. Water, candles and board games. Nicola Brewers is saying, will Putin use chemical warfare? I think he already is. Guys. From this article, I'm not going to share it with you because it's absolutely rammed with ads. It's like the ads are unbelievable. Go and check out this article yourselves, guys. Okay, it's from the Daily Mail. It was produced on the 10th of December. So, like, what is it? Yesterday. Putin's plot to slaughter Western civilians. U.S. plane bombs, derailing packed trains, and poisoning our water supplies. Poisoning of water supplies is chemical warfare. That is chemical warfare. If your question is, will Putin be like spraying contaminants in the air? There's no case use for that. Why would he do that? Why would he do that when he can just, you know, pay somebody to contaminate the water? Yeah, sorry, Templar Matt. Sorry, guys. Sometimes I forget to put the chat on. I did today, but it's on now. Sorry, guys. I apologize. Band again is saying, I heard a song by Roger Whittaker. I don't know who he is. Is he the guy on I don't know. Is he the guy from I don't know who Roger Whittaker is. About fighting war for England. I got choked. It had more meaning somehow now. I don't know what that is. I don't know. I can't play songs on here. I get dumb for what do I get done for? Like illegal broadcasting or something. Toxic Goy Hole is saying you don't need high explosives on a plane. A battery can cause to overheat and can cause a fire on a plane that cannot be put out easily. Yeah, you know, people always think that you need some sort of high-tech equipment to do sabotage, and you need, like, you know, all these, you know, little knickknacks, and you know, you need a radio in your shoe, and you know, you need a radio in your shoe in case you get lost and like little track it. You don't, you know, you really don't. Like, super gluing a lock, right? Super gluing a lock is an act of sabotage, right? Everybody can get super glue. If it's like, just think it's like an emergency cupboard or something, right? And it's, let's just say it's where the guns are kept somewhere. I'm just making something up, right? It's something, forget guns, right? Something in a cupboard is a critical item for an emergency response team, right? Super gluing that lock, if you know they're going to need that kit and equipment, is an act of sabotage. Who's going to question somebody with a tub of super glue in their pocket? Literally, who's going to question them? Have you ever tried to get super glue out of an, one of those thin keys, one of those slots? It's virtually impossible. The lock's over. You need to get bolt croppers. So you don't need high-tech equipment. Who's going to, who's going to put, if you're walking along the street, and you've got a little tube of super glue in your pocket and the police search you. What's that? Oh, some super glue. Well, I don't know. I just had it in my pocket. Nobody's going to question that. We all think that sabotage kit is like bolt croppers, little explosive chargers, some sort of chemical. It's not. You can literally go down to your local hardware store and buy a ton of, sabotage equipment. Nicola is saying he also set the electrical substation down in Heathrow as well. So I don't know if I don't know if that's true, Nicola. I would suspect it is. I've got to be very careful what I say on here, and I can only suspect that was some sort of sabotage. It seems very suspicious, that it seems very suspicious that, substations are being set on fire and storage facilities are being set on fire and, things burn, guys. Things literally burn. Right, let me jump down, guys. Give me a second. Let me jump down. Priv Caro in Norway is saying Norwegian news station made an article with a video showing how easy it would be to fly a drone and ruin water for thousands of people. And it's legally to fly drones over it. Look, guys, for those of you who've been watching me for a while, all right? In fact, yesterday, I think I said this. In 2017, I did a job for Thames Water in 2017, and they wanted a report on how easy it would be to contaminate the water with drones. So you think how big these reservoirs are, yeah? They're big, they're wide, yeah? You don't have to have the most accurate drone to crash land it into that water supply. So if you live in the United Kingdom, what's the distance across the channel? So here's a question. Do you think it would be feasible to launch a one-way drone from France, from the coast of France, to launch a one-way fixed-wing drone and to crash land that, operated by GPS, and to crash land that in the water supply? I would say it is very likely. And as Priv Caro is saying here, a Norwegian news station made an article showing a video how easy it would be to fly a drone. I'm talking about these ones now, guys. It would have to be something like this. This one wouldn't have the range. This one's too expensive, but this one's just right. It's like baby bear, middle bear. It's like baby bear, mummy bear, and daddy bear. It will be absolutely perfect for that job, guys. And when we proposed our solution to Thames Water, it was too expensive. And it is, guys, it really is. It's too expensive to protect our water supplies. So when I tell you guys to get water, just do it, all right? Just do it. Just get yourselves like some bottled water. Yeah, Templar Matt is saying Israel have already proven that pages can go pop with a simple signal. Emma Watts is saying, anyone know about Operation Pegasus? Locking down of children inside schools. So I don't know what the operation's called, but we said on the live stream a couple of I think it may be Monday. Monday on the live stream, we said that I just said, look, the girls have a lockdown today, and then lots of people on the live stream were saying, yeah, our kids are doing lockdown practice this week. So yeah, there is a lot of lockdowns happening. And look, guys, isn't it a wild world where we've got where our children have got to practice lockdown in their school? It's crazy, guys. It really is crazy. No, it really is crazy. Right, guys, I'm going to just jump over quickly. So this is going to be my main live stream, guys. I'm going to jump back on straight after this, and I've got 2 other live streams. I'm going to do a live stream about the Falklands because that's hit the mainstream media again. You know, what's happening in the Falklands. I do believe that is going to be another war front opening up to the United Kingdom. I think it looks like this is going to happen once the United Kingdom are committed in Ukraine. I think you will have had some sort of... I'm not going to steal my thunder from later on, but I'm going to be talking about the Falklands because the Falklands... What's happening in Ukraine isn't about Ukraine. It's about the Falklands, and what's happening in the Falklands isn't about the Falklands. It's about Antarctica. Everything's about Antarctica, guys. Everything's about Antarctica. And also, I just want to do a video as a warning to Western Europeans. What happens historically when white people become the minority. I'm going to do another live stream, and I'm just gonna give historical context to what happens in a country when white people become the minority. So they're the other 2 live streams I'm going to be doing after this. But before I do that, ladies and gentlemen, I just want, can I share this? Are there any ads? Yeah, I will share this. So I'm going to share this real quick because it does look like there's, I don't know. Look, guys, just tell me what you think. Tell me what you guys think. People are urged to wear masks when they are ill as UK faces a tidal wave of flu. Now, I'm going to read a little bit from this article because it does look like something could be coming. It looks like something could be brewing. It does. It looks like something could be brewing. NHS provider's boss. I don't even know what that means. NHS provider's boss. I don't know what that means. Says those who are coughing and sneezing should wear face covers on public transport. Here we are, guys. We're here again. People experiencing flu or cold even know if I'm streaming. Am I still on, guys? I think I've still stopped streaming. I'm still on. The internet's a bit sketchy, guys. The internet's a bit sketchy. I can remember in the crazy times of 20. Thanks, guys. I'm back on now. I can remember in the crazy times of 2020, 2021 or whatever it was. 2020, 2021. You know how we all had to queue outside shops because you weren't allowed in a shop? I think it was you weren't allowed more than 3 people in the shop, so you all had to queue up outside. I remember thinking, this is ridiculous. So I'm there queuing up outside the shop, right? And there's a guy, he was in front of me, or was he behind me? He was in front of me. And I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm like a sledgehammer. I am, guys. I'm like a sledgehammer. I get things done. All right. I get things done. I don't mess about. If something needs doing, I will just get it done. All right. I am like a bit of a sledgehammer. But it was 2020, maybe 2021. I can't remember. And I was queuing outside the shop because I literally just wanted some bits. I can't remember what it was. And there was a guy standing in front of me, and he had the face mask. He had the face shield. He had rubber gloves, and he had some antiseptic wipes, and a little plastic bag to put the antiseptic wipes in. Honestly, I was like, God, is this what I'm dealing with right now? Do I have to deal with this? You know, is this what I'm dealing with right now? I can remember seeing this guy waiting at the shop. And when people were going in and out of the shop, he was so frantic. And he was saying to them, oh, clean the door. Don't touch the door handle. Why are you not wearing gloves? And I was thinking, right, okay, fair enough, right, whatever. Anyway, so he's cleaning the door handle he's got his face mask, he's got his face shield, he's got his rubber gloves, he's got his antiseptic wipes. So he went into the shop, right? And he's telling everybody, saying, excuse me, I want to wait till everybody's come out of the shop before I go in. So I'm the only one. And he said, I was right behind him. And he said, can you not come in while I'm in the shop? I was like, yeah, mate, whatever. I don't actually want to be in this shop with you, to be fair. Anyway, so he went in the shop, right? And he came out with a newspaper. And in my head, I was thinking, right, so this guy, look, I'm not, this guy believed so much. He was so scared, right? He was so scared. He had to have a face mask, face shield, rubber gloves, antiseptic wipes. And he believed he was risking his life to get himself a newspaper. Honestly, it like beggars belief. And one of the things, one of the things I used to say is, like, one of the things I noticed from 2012, not 2012, from, not from 2012, from 2020, 2021, 2022, the people you need to look out for is the Karens. And I don't know what a male equivalent of a Karen would be. What I'm talking about is the women or the men who all of a sudden overnight are experts. Literally, they've gone from, I don't know, working on the tills at B&M. Within 12 hours, they have become the world's most leading, foremost expert on airborne contagions. They're the people, who you really need to look out for. They are, guys. They're the people you really need to look out for. So it has come out on the mainstream. People are urged to wear masks. People are urged to wear masks, guys. They are. People are being urged to wear masks if they're out in public. Just let me open this. See if this comes out. Yeah. Right, now, there's also another, I can't do it, right, okay. So also there's another article that was released yesterday. So while we're talking about the flu-like symptoms, wearing a mask, hands, face, and space, there's an article out on, this is from, I'm going to read you this headline now. Guys, listen, I'm reading you this headline verbatim from the Telegraph, okay? From the Telegraph, all right? This is the headline. I'm not making this up. This is the headline from the mainstream media, all right? How COVID vaccines can cause heart damage. That's the headline, all right? And this is an article by Sarah Napton. She's the science editor. Sarah Napton on the 10th of December, 2025. I'm not reading this. I'm not making this up, guys. This is the headline. Immune system triggered by mRNA jabs may inflame cardiac cells with young men most at risk. COVID mRNA vaccines can cause heart damage by triggering immune cells to go on the attack, scientists have found. That's the article. That's literally the article. I'm not giving any comment on that. I'm just saying that is the article that is out It was released on the 10th of December in the Telegraph, 10th of December 2025 at 07:56. No, sorry, not 07:56. At 7:56 p.m., 19:56 p.m. GMT. So there we are, guys. It turns out that, some people who said that was happening, they may have been right. But, that was fake news at the time, but now it's right. Did anybody watch that interview with Elon Musk the other day? So there was an interview with Elon Musk the other day, and somebody asked Elon Musk what conspiracies he believes in, what conspiracy theories he believes in. And what he said was, haven't all the conspiracies been proven true now? So there it goes, guys. If you was a conspiracy theorist, right? If you was a conspiracy theorist and you was looking, look, guys, I'm not giving any judgment on this. I'm just saying this may be the case. If you was one of those conspiracy theorists in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, who are looking at all this uptick of people having heart attacks. Can you remember all the football players? Can you remember all the football players having heart attacks? All of a sudden, all these football players are having heart attacks on the pitch. Can you remember that? Yeah. Well, it turns out if you guys did pattern recognition and thought, hang on a minute. Yeah, I know what I'm seeing. If you guys thought that, maybe you guys were right. Because an article out in the Telegraph today says how, in the Telegraph, guys, this is not me. This is an article on the mainstream. You guys can check it out yourself. I'm not gonna share it with you because there's a massive paywall, and hang on, I can't remove the paywall because I'm not paying. But that's the article from yesterday, guys. So I don't know. So when we do pattern recognition. Pattern. So like I talk about pattern recognition, right? Like pattern recognition is like the earliest form of survival. It really is, guys. Pattern recognition is the earliest form of survival. So can you imagine, right? Let's go way back. Let's go back to when we were like cavemen, right? And let's say, right, okay, so me and my boys, we're going out to hunt. And we want some lion meat, We want some lion meat. We want some nice lion meat. I'm like, yeah, I fancy myself a lion ribeye. I want to get myself a lion ribeye. And every time, the last 2 times we've approached the lion and tried to, get the lion meat, we've lost 2 people because the lion's wild, its claws, its teeth, and the lion actually ate us. Right? So there's a pattern there, right? Every time you approach the lion, you lose 2 people. So now you think, right, okay, maybe it's not such a good idea to get lion meat. Maybe we go for like a cow. Maybe we go for cow meat or something. Yeah, they're a lot easier. Basic pattern recognition. It's saved humans for a long time, guys. It has. It's saved humans for a long time. Kids. Touching fire, Bernie, ouch, Bernie, ouch, ouch, pattern recognition, So maybe if you were doing pattern recognition in 2022, 2021, 2022, and you were looking at people who'd had certain medications, maybe this was the case, guys. I don't know. I'm not saying this was the case. Look, guys, as far as I look, guys, I trust the government's advice. I think any vaccine that the government would give people would be safe and effective. I do, guys. I think I think it was safe and effective. It was safe and effective. Everybody should go and get them. Safe and effective. But it turns out, if you were doing pattern recognition and you were thinking, oh, that person's had that, now that's happened to them. That person's had that, and that's had, okay. So now you're doing pattern recognition. So maybe you were right. Now, I'm going to go on to this in a little bit, guys, okay? I'm going to come on to this on another live stream. I'm going to come on to this on another live stream. But if you're doing pattern recognition, and you look what happens to white people when they become minorities, it's nothing good. It's nothing good, guys. You know, it's nothing good. It's absolutely nothing good. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to, in fact, let me jump on the chat. Let me get some more chat. I've got I've got 2 more live streams to do, guys. I've got 2 more live streams to do. People wearing masks don't bother me unless it's a paper nappy one. We should wear them and look intimidating. Other people will leave you alone more. All right, guys. So listen. All right, here's the thing. All right. Here's the thing. If you're going to get a mask, make sure it's got a rubber seal. All right. Make sure it's got a rubber seal. If it's not got a rubber seal, I would say, as someone who's done lots of nuclear, chemical, biological, CRBN, military training, that I would say that if it's not got a rubber seal around your mouth and nose, it's not going to protect you. That's what I would say. And that's not just what I would say. That's what I was taught in the military. All right. That's what I was taught in the military. All right. So you guys can, if you guys want to wear the paper mask, that's fine. I was taught in the military that, a mask needs to have a rubber seal, and a good way to check that, and a good way to check if that mask works is once you put the mask on, put your hand over the, take the filter off and put your hand over the filter, I don't know, the filter hole, I guess, air intake. Put your hand over the air intake and suck in. And if the mask goes to your face, it works, all right? Because it's stopping any air coming in. Yeah, do you know what? I was thinking this earlier, you know how we see all these Chinese people wearing the masks? I don't think it's to protect themselves. I think it's for facial recognition. I do. I think it's for I think it's for facial recognition. But there's more stuff you can do. You don't just need, like, you can spot people by the way they walk. So when everybody walks, it's called what's it called? Gait identification or something. So when you walk, even from behind, even when you walk from behind, your shoulders will sway a certain length because your bone structures are different, strides, and the way your feet are. Even from above, you can recognize people. But yes, wearing a mask will certainly foil facial recognition. Sorry, guys, I'm just jumping up again. Just jumping again in the chat. James is saying, Trump and Putin make a deal to let Russia keep the land. Trump tells Zelensky. Zelensky runs to European leaders. Europe leaders and Zelensky reject the deal and repeat. Yeah, there's going to be no swizzles here, guys. There's going to be no swizzles. There's going to be no peace deals. Ultimately, when we talk about Ukraine, when we talk about Russia and this war, the Ukrainian army isn't like, even if Zelensky told all their guys to stop fighting, they wouldn't. So then how do you, literally, put your suggestions in the chat. If the military will not stop fighting, who are you going to, if for example, say the military are on the front line, right? And they go on strike and they say, yeah, fuck you, Zelensky. We're not stopping fighting. We're going to keep fighting. We're not part of you anymore. We're independent now. We're going to keep fighting. We're not giving up. Who are they going to send? Who are they going to send to stop them fighting? What are we going to do? We're going to send the firemen. We're going to send the police. There's nobody to send. So if your military are subordinate And they say no. Like, and if if Zelensky's generals have said to him, yeah, Vova, mate, whatever you say in these peace deals, mate, we're going to keep fighting. So it's up to you. It's up to you. I've seen this. I was out there in whenever it was, when the Minsk II agreement was in place. Well, the Minsk and Minsk II agreements, the ceasefire agreements, they never even started. You had these ceasefire agreements that were brokered in Belarus, and they never even, like, the ceasefires, they never even started. What happened is, and this is true, like, I don't know if this is out there in the media, but there were private social media groups. So, for example, in one region of Ukraine, the Russians and the Ukrainians would both be on, like, on a private Facebook group or something, and they would talk to each other. They would literally talk to each other, guys. I promise you, the Ukrainian private soldiers would talk to the Russian private soldiers. And it was very civilized, because, like, at lunchtime, they would say, yep, 12 till 2, nobody's going to be shooting. And they just 12 till 2, they just say, right, we're stopping now. We're not going to have any shoots. And they'd have their lunch, and then at 2 o'clock, they'd text each other, are all your guys back in their positions? Yeah, we're all back in our positions. Right, good, no worries, we'll continue. That really happened, guys. I witnessed that with my own eyes. And there was something called, there was these international observers as well that used to drive around, called from the OSCE. I don't know what OSCE stands for. Operational Security. I don't know. OSCE. You guys can Google it if you want. They were the internet. I should know. I work for them. So they were the international observers. And they would drive around in these, in these new shiny Land Cruisers. A lot of those Land Cruisers were imported from Iraq. So they would drive around in these shiny white Land Cruisers with, with armored Land Cruisers with OSCE written on the side. And what they would do is the Ukrainians would get on the group chat and say, right, we've got OSCE in this area. So they would they would stop shooting in that area temporarily while the international observers were there. So when the international observers got there, they could hear boom, 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 da 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 boom, boom, and they're like, oh god, that fighting's just started from where I was, So it never really, the ceasefire never really held. Right, ladies and gentlemen, the crux of this live stream has been. And this is the headline. This is the headline from today, guys, okay? This is from the Daily Mail. Not today, yesterday. Headline from the Daily Mail yesterday, 10th of December, 2025, revealed Putin's plot to slaughter Western civilians. US plane bombs derailing packed trains and poisoning our water supplies are among the plans foiled. Now, I've been saying this is coming for a long time. It's now out on the mainstream media that it's not coming, that it is actually here, guys. It's actually here. So this has already started. These conflict, this is already here. It's already at our doors. If I can give you one little bit of advice, ladies and gentlemen, and, people, you get these people on these, like, on these prepping channels, and, like, honestly, people have got everything in the kitchen sink, like, stored away. I will say water, literally water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. Where am I? The United Kingdom. You're literally the United Kingdom. Martin is saying the military is on the border of Sweden. There is a lot of different countries there. Did I miss your last comment? Can you give context to that, Martin? Mike, can you give good context to that? Because I'm unsure what that means. Oh, just quickly, guys, before I close this down. I worked in a hospital with people in quarantine. Masks don't do anything. Only surgeons need masks. And that's actually a plastic shield to stop spraying liquids, etc. Look, guys, if you want to if you want to cover your face and you are genuinely worried about airborne pathogens, you need to have that rubber seal. Or you need to have that rubber seal, and it needs to go all the way over your nose. It needs to go all the way around your mouth, and it needs to be, it needs to be an intact rubber seal. It really does, guys. Otherwise, that's what I was taught in the military. That's what I was taught in the military, guys, when I was doing nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare training. That's what I was taught, and I think that's fair. Can you imagine, right? Can you imagine if the military just handed out those? In fact, did you see that? Can you remember when Sergei, the Skripal poisoning in Salisbury? Like, did you see what the military guys were wearing when they were going to check that contaminant? They didn't have a little paper mask on their face, did they? They didn't have a little paper mask on their face. They were in like 3 Romeo, which is the nuclear state, all right? They had hoods up, they had contamination suits, they had rubber gloves, rubber boots, face masks, respirators. Right, in fact, you know what, guys? Because we're talking about Russia, let me just jump onto the war map. I'll share this with you before I go. Let me see if it's been updated. No, it's not. It's still on the 9th. Oh, that's ominous. Yeah, it's not being updated. Yeah. So normally when there's a big piece of land about to be I will share this actually. So normally when there's a big piece of land about to be annexed or taken's a better word. Taken's the right word actually. Normally, when there's a big piece of land about to be taken in or has been taken in Ukraine, this map won't update. So it's normally a day behind. So if you look there, it's on the 9th. That's the date that this map's showing. So this was a situation on the ground on the 9th. Obviously, it's now the 11th, so it's a day behind. So I would speculate that, like, it's closed up now. I'd speculate it's closed up. Let's just rewind a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward now. So this is a month ago. So you know how people say that the Russian, like we get people saying that the Russians are done, they're over, they're finished, they're about to collapse. That's all well and good. I'm going to fast forward this now and watch how much ground, watch how much ground the Russians take here, guys. So it's all well and good, people on the mainstream saying Russia's about to collapse, etc., and all the rest of it. The situation on the ground does not correlate with mainstream media reports. On the 9th of the 11th, I'm just going to fast forward this now, all right? Each day. Tell me, does that look like you're losing? Does that look like the Russians are losing, guys? Does that, and that's when it's up. So that was it. That's in the space of a month. And that's been replicated somewhat to a lesser extent in some places, but that's been replicated all over this front line, So it's all well and good, people coming out and saying, it's all well and good people coming out and saying nothing's going to happen and the Russians are not going to win and the Russians are about to collapse. And that map there shows you why Putin has zero appetite in negotiating. Like, if he'd have come to a negotiation last month, he wouldn't have Pokrovs. Now he's got Pokrovs. And next month, he'll have more ground, Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, listen, guys, I am going to close this down. I'm going to be straight back on with another live stream about... I'm going to be straight back on with a warning to the West, a warning to Western people, a warning to Western Europe, a warning from mass migration. And I'm going to give you guys some context about what happens when Western Europeans become minorities in, you know, in countries. I'm going to tell you guys what happens, and it's not good. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this down now. If you've not done so already, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notifications wherever they are down there. If you're watching on YouTube. And I will literally go and top my coffee up, and then I will be straight back on, guys. I'm going to be straight back on. I'm going to give a warning to Western. I'm going to give a migration warning for Western nations. And I'm going to say what happens when white people become minorities in their countries, and nothing good's coming, guys. Okay. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later, and I will bid you good morning for a couple of minutes.